hoped that by end of yesterday, President Bola Tinubu would have presented the 2025 budget proposal to a joint session of the National Assembly. That apparently did not happen because it had been scheduled for today, Wednesday. So Nigerians are looking forward to seeing what exactly the major components of this fiscal proposal will be for the fiscal year 2025, whether it's the capital element or the recurrent element. Of course, as it stands right now, there are people who are already having concerns around the the capital elements of the budget that will be proposed today, which has always been the case every other budgetary cycle anyway in this country. But ultimately, how does the 49 trillion naira affect Nigeria, even though it's just being proposed? Because in the final analysis, the National Assembly has a level of latitude to take a second look at it, do the plus and minus, as they say, and then ultimately we'll see what the numbers will say. But in the meantime, what does it say about where we're coming from in the life of this administration, particularly against the backdrop of the renewed hope agenda of the president? What should we be expecting will be different this time around, away from the traditional practices that we're seeing with budgets year in year out in this country? These are the elements in our conversation this morning in the course of this first discussion that we're having. I'm joined by a very strong supporter of President Bola Tinubu, one who is not just a member of the All Progressives Congress, that is the ruling party. He's also a chieftain of the party, Chief Chibuna Uba Wiki, on the program this morning. Chief, it's been a long time. It's good to have you back here as the year is running out.
Thank you so much.
Great. I'd like us to begin with the renewed hope agenda. The term hope in that phrase is one that Nigerians capitalize on every time they are assessing this administration under the president. How far have we come vis-a-vis the promise or the promises that were made as we went through the election in 2023?
Yeah, a lot of progress have been made. A lot of hope have been restored. Though it is not yet to whole.
Right.
It is a work in progress. As the year rolls by and we will be entering the new year, a lot will be happening as well to renew our hope in the government, in the policy and the polity, and also in the lives of Nigerians. We will be expecting an improvement on what we have already on the ground. There's going to be massive improvement in the lives of Nigerians. That is what I can say for now.
But in the country, Chief, where people still complain about hardship, how that economy is biting hard, even before now. And then add to that the fact that the holiday season was upon us. Christmas, as we call it, it's here. Is it scientific or valid to argue and say, just like you have mentioned, that progress has been made?
There has never been a year since I was born till now. There has never been a year people did not complain. No matter how favorable, it has been part and parcel of human development. Complain. Whether some people will be rejoicing, some will be complaining, and as it's a living scenario in human development and society. Even in advanced economies, there are people complain. So now, yes, we are complaining. The way we are complaining, things are biting hard. Yes, things are biting hard, but it is for good. There has been a new hope. Hopes have been restored in some sectors of the economy, and as we progress in the life of this administration, I believe things will get better by the day.
Let's see things around issues around the economy. Let's talk about the economy for a second, because I think that's one point of assessments, quite frankly.
Yeah, the economy, from where we are coming from, there has been an improvement. All the indices and statistics are showing that there are improvements. I don't want to go into specifics,
right, but
there have been improvements, unlike what we used to have before. The people will not they say it is on paper and paper. I want to say it translated in pragmatic terms. But there has been improvement, and there will be much more improvement as we go into the new year.
Okay, let's take a quick break, everyone. Quickly, the new year is an essential aspect of our conversation on this program this morning. We'll talk to you about that when we return. To stay with us. Thank you, everyone. I've been speaking with Chief Chibuna Ubawike. We're looking at basically what the economy is seeing at this time under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. But let's talk about the budget in particular. Today is big in a sense because the outlook for 2025, the assessment of it will start today when the president hits the floor of the National Assembly and then gets to do that presentation to a joint house. But what exactly should be different? Nigerians are not, they're very familiar with how these things work. But what should be different beyond the inflation, so to say, in the figure?
A lot of things are going to be different. Remember the
local salaries have just been increased, and it is part of what made the budget to be very fat. The increment has been factored into the budget, and that is why the recorded expenditure is higher, a bit higher than the capital expenditure. So the take-home pay of workers, remember, area will be paid. So people will have adjustments and others. People will have a lot of disposable income, a lot of take-home pay. The standard of living will improve. And in terms of capital expenditure, programs that are ongoing that has direct bearing on the economy to stimulate economic growth are there, and a lot of improvement and a lot of things positives are going to happen this time around in 2025. This budget is a bit different. The size and the what and the programs that are captured therein. So it's going to be a different ball game. Things are going to start working out fine. We're going to see the effects of the positive effects of the reform that the present administration has put in place. We're going to see the positive effects as we go into the new budget year of 2025.
I know you're not here as an economist, but at least you are a very high-ranking member of the APC.
Yeah.
What makes it so difficult that every other cycle, every year, we have this gulf between what has been budgeted and the level of implementation?
Remember, budget are estimates.
Right.
They are projections. So at times it is the receipts, the income that determines what is approved and released. And performance as the case may be. And when you estimate and when along the line something happens to alter the receipts, especially negative, if it is negative, it will affect the implementation of the budget. But if it is on the positive side, let's say the receipts increases, you will see most cases supplementary bill appropriation is sent to the National Assembly for consideration and approval. To add to the budget to increase government's expenditure, especially injection of resources into the economy to stimulate economic growth.
People have said we know what we're doing, that we're deliberately allowing recurrent expenditure to outpace, so to speak, capital expenditure. And the point they always highlight is the fact that if we continue to have that kind of culture, that kind of practice where, for example, we have the recurrent expenditure here and the capital here, as a country we cannot make progress, particularly in the area of infrastructure development.
One thing they forget, those that will propose that they are right in some way, but Nigeria as a nation, they are not right. Because look at the increments in minimum wage. They look at other programs of the government that are capital intensive. Government must make money, funds available to execute those projects that will have direct bearing on the lives of people. Look at the social intervention programs. These are the things that increase the recurrent expenditure. The social intervention programs have direct bearing on the lives of Nigerians. Are you saying government should be away with them? No is the answer. We are a developing nation. As we progress in development, time will come when the capital budget or estimates will be higher than that of the recurrent. When the social investment programs and intervention programs have not begun to leave the needed fruits on the lives of Nigeria in the economic sector and in other sectors. You see now that government will not focus on the capital infrastructural development. Because when everybody is on his own, we are comfortable, we are self-employed, we are independent of the government, by virtue of what government has given you, right? You invested and right, and the others are coming in. Government will not repeat that again. If you give somebody 100,000 naira today and the person invested it wisely, and created a part of that money, you will not give that person that money again tomorrow. So you have closed that gap. So that money you have been given to that person, you allocate it to other sectors. So that is what is going to happen as we progress. Nigeria is a developing nation. They should give Nigeria time. With time we will overcome this, recurring expenditure, outpacing capital expenditure.
But is the progress we're making as a country, because you said Nigeria is a developing nation, but is the progress we're making commensurate with what the expectations are vis-a-vis where we should actually be if we had got our act together?
It is commensurate because look at our population. And then is Nigeria a rich nation? No is the answer.
Is that correct?
No, we are not rich. We are not rich. We are only rich in human and the natural resources that have not been harnessed. They have not been developed to act on the land of Nigerians. They are still crude. When we harness our human and natural resources, bring them to bear, develop them, then we begin to the result. Why cannot? Many states in Nigeria are with natural resources that have been untapped. Nothing has been done about them. Many things are done. Deliberate actions are taken by the state governors to develop those resources into improve the lifestyle and the livelihood of their citizens, and that will translate nationally. So saying that a place of development is not connected with the resources, how much resources have we generated? Look at it. How much have we generated? If, like our budget, the 2025 proposal is about $27.9 billion, share it among Nigerians, how much will they translate to? So we should be factual and realistic in our expectations of Nigeria, and we do our bit to contribute to the development of Nigeria so that we lessen the burden on the government.
Our budgetary process is always very dicey because first off we have to bank on monies from oil, sort of crude oil in the international markets. Of course, we benchmark our currency against the dollar, so volatility is a factor. For example, in the case of the 2025 budget, we understand that we're benchmarking at 1,400 naira to the naira. All right, and then of course for oil, volatility is a factor you can run away from. So whenever, when the price of oil at the international markets sneezes, we catch cold back at home. How do we diversify? Because that's one of the conversations my colleague and I had this morning on the program. We've been talking about let's diversify time and again. But what are some of the practical steps we must take, whether it's agriculture or services, whatever?
The practical steps we must take to diversify the economy is for their politicians and going to be patriotic enough to carry out the policies of government to the letter. Let them assume their personal interest, really to sit on economic policies of government. We need to punish, let me use that language, to people that are engaged in economic activities. You have something you need to do that has a time frame, and because you need approval from the ministry, you don't get it. It will affect you, it will affect your client. Your client will be on your neck, especially if it has to do with an international transaction. Then who are you to blame? Those appointed by government should be the ones to execute and carry out those policies. There is something I don't want to say on there that is happening now, because I've seen what in the as of late. It is very, very sad. The government has done its own. Show that policy that you have direct bearing on the businesses of people, diversifying the economy, that the cultural produce. The ministers are saddled with the responsibility of issuing out permits. Many people, export agricultural products. Are they doing it the way it's supposed to be? Are they not seeking on applications of people, the export agri practitioners that want to export and foreign exchange for Nigeria, create jobs, put food on the table? Those are the people that are impeding the diversification of the economy.
Let's talk about something else, local production. It's a no-brainer that if we don't ramp up our local production, the naira will continue to get weakened against the US dollar, no doubt about that. And this morning, so as we opened up the program, we also talked about the initiative that was birthed some years ago that says buy Nigeria and so on and so forth. Now, how do we strike a convergence between both? First of all, ramp up local production, ensure Nigerians buy Nigeria, as it were.
Local production should be encouraged, and I believe if our power sector is doing what it's supposed to be, because you cannot go into production without public power supply that is efficient. If the public power supply is efficient, it will encourage industrial development, and local production of goods and services will be on the rise. Now, if that is done, and then you see Nigerians like used to be in those years when we were growing up, we see a lot of goods and services produced and manufactured in Nigeria. We will buy them. If the industrial sector is actively functioning, and government now puts out the policy to buy made in Nigeria, patronize made in Nigeria, and implement it to the letter, it will be good for everybody. Like I said, appointees of government are using the buy or patronize made in Nigeria product. If they carry out government policy of buying and patronizing made in Nigeria product, it will translate into increased production by the local manufacturers, which will add to the economic development of Nigeria. Let them put the willpower on the part of those appointed by government to carry out these policies. Those are the people working against all the good programs that government and policies government has put in place. The government should set its eyes on his appointees, and no reports are made against any officials that are impeding industrial development, impeding economic development, impeding the execution of the policy of ease of doing business. Appropriate sanctions and action should be taken against such an official to serve as a deterrent to others.
Recently, the president, the leader of your party, by the way, did a sort of reshuffling of his cabinet. Of course, some persons were sent away and others were moved from one ministry to another. There are still people in this country, some of them even in your party, saying that the president needs to do more in that direction, that there are still people who need to go. Where do you stand?
Well, I am not the president.
You are in Nigeria. Assessment from your end, as a leader in the party, do you think there's more exits to be done?
Well, there's what we call mobility of labor, movement of labor from one place to another. So if Mr. President in his wisdom decides that this person is not, because he has set up or put up operational mechanisms, and the district feels that so and so A or B is not meeting up and they need to be eased out, he should go ahead and ease them out. That's just my candid opinion.
I want us to move from the federal level now. Let's decentralize this conversation. Every time we talk about budget, it's always the federal government we're looking at. States also have their own budgeting processes that they do. Some states, most states in this country as of today already have done their own budget presentation to their respective houses of assembly in Nigeria today. What are the benchmarks that we should use in assessing how those states are performing?
Some states are doing fine in their budgets. Some of the states, their capital expenditure, capital estimates are higher than their recurrent estimates. And some of the states, their budget implementation is about 90% or thereabout. Some states are doing fine. You see infrastructural development, you see investment in economic activities, and the state is bubbling. But while some, nothing to be written home about. We are operating a federation. There is no basis for having a uniform benchmark. Each state will present its budget according to its peculiarities and needs. So but the thing is that let there be proper checks and balances to monitor and see what they are doing with their budget, and then the developmental indices in that state, is it encouraging? I know that some states are not developing. Let me tell you that language. Because the governors are not interested in developing their states. The ways that the governors are patriotic enough to develop their states, when you go there, you see development in all the sectors.
Borrowing has always been a challenge in this country, Chief, and you are not ignorant of the facts. There's another fact, is a reality. Just this week, for example, we're not hearing that the government, the federal government, particularly in this case, has even exceeded its borrowing threshold for example. Maybe economists can walk us through the dynamics later. But for now, the point being made is that even the Minister of Finance, Mr. Waledu, has said that XYZ amounts in trillions will be borrowed as part of trying to push, or as it were, drive implementation of this budget when it's ultimately passed. Of course, the argument is there's no country in the world that doesn't borrow, including the United States, which is said to be the most indebted on earth today. However, how do we borrow responsibly and utilize judiciously?
Like you said, there is nothing wrong in borrowing, but borrowing for development and applying the borrowing funds to the projects it is tied to. That is where the problem lies. The borrowing is free to borrow, but let the borrowing be for the economic development, infrastructural development, and let the borrowing funds be judiciously applied, for the purpose it was borrowed for. It also calls to question those that will implement the policies. If government has, Mr. President will not be everywhere. That's why he appointed those that will help him to drive the process. Right. So if those that will help him to drive the process are working against it, and Mr. President does not have the feedback, and nobody has brought it to his attention, but he's not God, that is all knowing. Somebody must tell him, this Mr. A or B is doing this against so against your policy, against Nigerians. It will not be when he has such information and fails to act, we now hold him responsible. So we that are appointed to assist Mr. President in driving his vision to deliver his mandate, do the right thing. Borrow first, yes, apply it to the purpose it was meant for, it was borrowed, and Nigeria will be good for it.
As we wrap up now, Chief, beyond just watching the President present budget, what more role should the National Assembly play within the budget cycle? I mean, the budget runs for 1 year. Of course, in between, as is always the case, there's the supplementary budget and so on and so forth. Do you think, as it stands today, beyond or even before this current administration of President Bola Tinubu, that the National Assembly holds the executive accountable enough with regards to budget implementation?
They do. You see them on the oversight functions. You see them inviting some heads of agencies of government for interrogation, and they bring out their reports. They are doing their job. The National Assembly is doing what it is supposed to do in terms of to police the budget's implementation, to see that appropriate things are done. They are humans as well. You don't expect a human to do something out of what is permissible within the human sphere. So they are doing their best, and they are trying. They are doing their best.
Okay, I think I will leave it now until the President, of course, does his presentation today, and we follow the numbers for you and see how much goes where and what the implementation will look like in the weeks and months ahead. I've been speaking with Chief Chibuna Obawike. He's a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress. Again, thank you, Chief, for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.
This is where we're taking a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll take a look at the issue around libel and defamation. What exactly does the law say about that, especially in light of the Cyber Crime Act of 2024? Nigerians need to understand what the elements are in that act and how those elements affect their interaction. We'll back shortly.